Well, good morning YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. So I've got a little patch job I want to do here on the house. This is not very good condition. So what I'm going to do is a temporary fix, because again, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to be redoing a lot of the siding on the house. Maybe not all of it. This wood isn't too bad, but I am going to be redoing a lot of it. So I need a temporary fix to fix this, because this is just letting moisture and snow in and everything. Now, the puzzlement to me is what holds, or what was supposed to hold, these boards in place. Now it looks like there's some pieces back behind here that are simply driven into the ground. They're not fastened to the foundation, because this is still cement up to about here, but they're not fastened to that. They're just pounded into the ground. And I don't really understand that. But those sticks that are pounded into the ground are basically rotten and have collapsed. So this is pretty much all collapsed. So I've been thinking about maybe drilling into the concrete to replace these strips and fasten them in place with Tapcon screws. I'm not really keen on the idea of actually drilling into the concrete at this point. I need to do a little more research on that. So what I think I'm going to try to do is basically do the same thing that's on here right now. I've got some pressure treated boards, so I'm going to cut them and make stakes and drive them down into the ground. Not a good way of doing this, but I think as a temporary fix, it's going to be just fine, and it's certainly going to be better than what's here. So we're going to cut up our pressure treated boards, give this a try. First off, I'm going to pull all of this off so I have a closer look at what it is I'm dealing with. All right, we got everything off. Now, it's not hard to see what he was thinking when he initially did this, but it just didn't last. Sorry for the wind noise, guys. It's really windy out here today. It's very mild, but this is kind of the edge of a storm that's coming in. We're supposed to get lots of rain tomorrow. So I'd really like to get this done and tidied up. So I think I'm going to change my approach a little bit here. What I'm going to try to do is place my pressure treated boards up underneath these slats and screw them into place. And that should be more than secure enough to hold the 8-inch boards that I'm going to put on. So I'm going to use the 8-inch pine boards that I've been cutting for siding, but obviously instead of going this way, I'm going to come across this way. And in order to make them last, I'm going to oil them, so there will be a difference in color. But as I say, it's temporary. We just need to seal this up a little better. So we'll get rid of the rotten scraps and start cutting some of my pressure treated boards here. You know, I think that's going to work. So I'll put a couple of screws in here to hold this board in place. And I really don't have to do anything else with it. Yeah, that should do the job. All right, we'll get some screws and put this first one in. I'm going to use deck screws on this because deck screws won't rust or anything. And even though it's temporary, I still don't want it to rust. All right, we'll get the rest of these ribs on and then we'll start cutting our boards. So there's all my ribs in. Now what I think I'm going to do is get my 8-inch board and cut it to my length and bring it up here and mark the width, because these are all a little bit under 8 inches. So I'll have to trim them off in the table saw. And I want to fit them one at a time, just to make sure they're going to be right. So I'll cut them, fit them, cut them to width, and then when I'm satisfied with that, they will get oil soaked and then installed. So let's get our first 8-inch plank and we'll start getting to work on this. So it just so happens I did an oil change on the tractor yesterday, which means I got lots of oil here ready to go. So this is, as I say, being done just as a protective coating for these boards, as they are pine and they're just completely uncoated with anything right now. Now the interesting thing with the oil coating is this will soak right into the wood and basically dry, and you'll be able to touch it and you won't feel any oiliness or anything from it. It's really works very, very well. All right, let's get our hands cleaned off here and we'll go install that first board. I think that's going to work just fine by the looks of it. We'll do some measuring and cutting and get our next boards on here. All right, guys, I'm down to one board left to go. It looks pretty good. I mean, for a temporary fix, I am not unhappy with it. All right, let's oil it and we'll be done. Well, there we are, guys. Temporary fix all done. I would say that was a heck of a lot better than what was there. So next job is to get back into the shop and clean it up. Oh boy, I'm afraid I've got a real mess there. But it's good to have this part done and we can move forward to the next thing. Well, it was really nice yesterday to get that bit of Siding fixed up with a temporary repair. That should hold through the winter. It was good to get that out of the way. Today has been another day of small jobs. I didn't film any of that. I didn't want to bore you guys with that. I've put the winter tires on the Jeep. Good to get that done. And did a little bit of tidy up of the garden shed and of the old observatory building too. So we're just getting a little better organized, but you wouldn't know that from looking around in here. What a mess. I've got to get the shop cleaned up now. I've had so many small jobs going on without slowing down that it's kind of overflowed into leaving tools all over the place in here and quite a mess. And I've got to get all of these small pieces, they're 3/4 by 1 inch. They need to get sawn up to length for my spacers for stacking lumber. I've got a bunch up against the wall there. And I have also brought in the Christmas decorations. It's time to start thinking about that. I've got a little bit of work to do. I've got 2 lights that I want to build 2 separate houses for. And I need to stain them and stain the house for the laser projectors as well. And then start figuring out how I'm going to set it all up. I like to get it out early while the ground is not frozen like a rock, and then I just leave everything turned off. I need to make a little platform for the big blow-up things that go up on the front of the house, get them in place and then cover them. And all that stuff will stay off until December. But December's getting closer. I mean, we're almost halfway through the month from the time of filming of this, so we're coming along. So it's a pretty cool day today, guys. We've had time to get a few more small jobs done and out of the way. I've changed the oil on the generator and put some more lumber away that was still out in the open. And now I've come back to look at the old logging road again. So I've got the tractor sitting here and I'm just filling a ditch here, and I think I can get around down this path and down to the old logging road from here. This is a path I cut in last year, and I've got some trees to take down in here as well, and this needs to be tidied up. But it's looking like I can get through here, and I think there's going to be enough spots where I can get some earth. Oh, there's a big rock to watch out for. There's a few of them. I think I might be able to get enough earth here to come over and help take care of some of this slant. So there's the rocky knoll. You can see the tractor in the background there. So I'm pretty much over the knoll, except one side of it isn't very good. So this, where I'm standing right here, and again, I know it doesn't show well in the camera, this is where there's quite the angle to deal with. Now there's rock right underfoot there. So I'm gonna see if I can scrape up enough earth here to help take care of this. Because if I can get this spot done and actually get the tractor out onto here, then I think I can grade this down to make this passable. But the trick is getting the tractor out onto this spot without rolling it over. Well, that was amazing. I'm on the other side, well on the other side of the rocky knoll now. That's really good. So I think I can start carving now rather than bringing earth in to level out that last part. But I had to come out in order to turn around to get the shovel back in there. So we'll get this thing turned around and I'll see if I can make a little bit more progress before heading back for dinner. Well, that's pretty good. We're pretty much up to the corner here. I've got some low spots that I've got to fill in that the front tire is now in. But we're definitely getting there. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. So the next challenge will be getting these low spots that I'm sitting in right now filled in, to get around these big rocks. And then I've got to come down here with my generator and my electric pole saw and start clearing this stuff out on these trees on either side, just to make a path big enough to go through. But we've been making progress, so that's really good. So we'll get back at it again tomorrow. But for now, I think I'm going to have to turn around and head home because Sarah's going to be looking for me for dinner. And it is starting to get dark. A little cool out here. So, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And we'll see you out on the trails the next time.